Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Today, we will be looking at how to approach the search reading task in the DBE's English Proficiency Exam. Now, in the search reading task, you are asked to fill the gaps in 6 sentences, and you have 20 minutes to read the text and complete the task. My first advice to all of you is please don't panic. Most students look at the search reading task and immediately start panicking because the text is really long and the time is limited. However, if you follow our advice and practice a lot, I'm sure that you will be able to do the search reading task without panicking. And please remember, 6 points can be a lot. The writing task is 10 points, so this task is more than half as valuable as the writing. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so let's have a look at what the handout advises you to do. Well, first of all, why do we ask you to search read? Well, the reason is simple. You will be a university student and you will have to read loads of books, papers, and articles about one or more topics. However, you don't have the time to read all of these papers and articles cover to cover. That is, you won't have time to read every single word. Therefore, you need to learn how to read quickly and find the information you are looking for. So, to be successful in the search reading task, you need to do these 7 things. 1. Read the task carefully. Now, this is really important because a lot of students, they look at the task, they start reading the text because they panic, they try to find the information, but they have difficulty in finding the correct information because they don't know what they're looking for. So please remember, read the task carefully. 2. Identify the information that you need to locate in the source. Now, this is connected to reading the task carefully. If you read the task carefully, if you read what you need to do, then you will know more easily where you will find the information that you need to locate in the text. The third point is, please survey, skim, and scan the source. And when I say the source, I mean the text. 4. Find the location of the information in the source. Well, if you survey a text, if you skim the text very quickly, I'm sure you will be able to find the correct location for the information in the source. Now, don't worry, today we're going to do these steps together and I will show you how to do this successfully. Now, 5. Read carefully to find the information in the source. Now, when I say carefully, I don't mean too slowly because you don't have a lot of time. The important thing is try to be specific. Try to find what you need in the text, understand what you are reading, and make sure that what you are taking from the text is correct for the task. Now, the 6th point is extract the necessary information from the text. And finally, when you place the information in the sentences, then please remember to use your paraphrasing skills. Now, please remember you should keep in mind that you do not need to read the whole text to do the task. In fact, it is impossible because the text is very long. That is not the point of this task. So try to read the text very quickly, try to focus on the parts which you need to focus on, and I'm sure you'll be successful. Now, you don't need to worry about understanding everything in the text, because most probably it's impossible to understand everything. You only need to focus on the parts that you need for the task. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now I'm going to show you something very important, which is not precisely the search reading task, but I'm going to show you something which you need to do normally when you're approaching texts. You should always survey a text the first time you see it because it makes your life much easier. So let's have a look. So we have this task which says search reading. Now, the task in this case is very simple. This is not what we ask you to do in the proficiency exam, but I'm trying to make it easy for you to learn how to survey. Now, the task is very simple. It just says, A, survey the text, and we have 2 questions. A, what is the title? And B, what are the subtitles? So let's do this together. Okay, so I go down. This is the normal search reading task. And now here's the text. And this is where students start panicking. I'll show you how long the text is. 1 page, 2, 3, 4 pages. And this is the point where students start panicking. And you think, oh my God, the text is too long. I will never have enough time. Don't panic. You will see it's very easy. So let's look at the task again. The task said, what is the title and what are the subtitles? Well, let's have a look. So the title is The Future of Work. That's the title of the text. Let's have a look at the subtitles. We have one here. Will my job become obsolete too? We have one here. What impact will automation have on work? We have another one. What are the possible scenarios for employment growth? And finally, some of the future jobs. Let's see if there's another subtitle. As you can see, there's smaller subtitles here. But no, that's it. So we have one title and 4 subtitles. Now, why is it important to survey the text? When you survey a text, you know what the topic is. So you understand that the text is going to be about the future of work. This is very important information. We have a picture of a robot, most probably a robot engineer, which sounds crazy, but it's very possible in the future. Then we have the first subtitle, Will my job become obsolete too? I hope you know the meaning of obsolete. We will look at it together. So we're talking about jobs. What impact will automation have on work? So as you can see, we have the word automation, which probably means robots. What are possible scenarios for employment growth? Now, when we say scenarios, we're talking about the future, because obviously in this case, we're talking about the future. And some of the future jobs. So we will look at different jobs that people will have in the future. Now, this is very important. This gives us a general idea of what the text is about. Now, let's complete the task. So let's go back to the initial task. Now, what is the title? So the title is The Future of Work. Now, what are the subtitles? And the subtitles are 4. And we have, Will my job become obsolete too? What impact will automation have on work? What are possible scenarios for employment growth? And some of the future jobs. Good. Now, obviously, this will not be in the proficiency exam, but this will help you understand how to approach a long text. Number 1, don't panic. Number 2, look at the text, look at the pictures, look at the title, look at the subtitles, and try to think, what is the text going to be about? Please don't forget the importance of your own brain. When you look at a text, when you look at a picture and the titles, it's very normal for your brain to try to recall information that you have. Now, please be careful. We do not want information which is only in your mind. We want information from the text. But recalling that information can help you understand more about the text. Okay, so now that we have surveyed the text, we are ready to do the actual task. So let's go to the second page. Now, as you can see, here we have our task. Now again, don't panic. Here we have 9 sentences. Please remember, in the proficiency exam, we ask you to fill the gaps in 6 sentences, not 9. This is only for a purpose of practice. Now, first of all, remember the first point. Let's read the task together. So, complete the statements below using information from the text. Keep your answers as short as possible. The statements are in the same order as the relevant information in the text. Now, these are the instructions. As you can see, you need to use the information from the text because this is a reading task. Now, this is very interesting. Keep your answers as short as possible. Yes, this is very important because it's very easy to copy and paste large amounts of text, but you need to be accurate. You need to take the relevant information. Now, this is also very important. The statements are in the same order as the relevant information in the text. Now, what does this mean? This means that we can do the first question and look at the text, and then we will know that the information in the second sentence will be after that part of the text, and then the third one, and then the fourth one. So everything is going to be in order. This is a big advantage because it means that we can do things in order without wasting time and without going backwards and forwards on the text. Okay, so let's have a look how to approach this particular task. In my opinion, one of the most important things to do is have a look at the sentence that we need to complete and try to think about synonyms. Now, synonyms can be very, very useful, especially in this particular task. Sometimes you may be lucky. Sometimes the information in the sentence can be very, very similar to the information in the text. Sometimes, however, one word in this sentence could be different from the word in the text because we're using synonyms. So let's have a look. In addition to film projectionists and knocker-uppers, more jobs will become obsolete. Two of the jobs that will not be needed in the near future are gap and gap. Now, this is very important. First of all, even I didn't know what knocker-uppers were. I discovered later, so don't worry if you don't understand. However, what is important to understand is what are we missing from the sentence. Now, in this case, we have two of the jobs that will not be needed in the future are gap and gap. Now, this means we are looking for two jobs. Now, what kind of jobs are we looking for? We're looking for two jobs that will not be needed, this is very important, and in the future. Finally, from a vocabulary point of view, it's very interesting to look at the word obsolete. The word obsolete is very important, and it means out of date or old-fashioned. Now, this is very important because it will help us find the information in the text. Now, let's have a look at the text. Do you remember the part that talked about obsolete jobs? Well, I do. Let's have a look. The future of work. First subtitle, will my job become obsolete? So we understand that the relevant information is in this part of the text. So let's have a look. So some jobs have already disappeared. Now let's see if we can see some jobs. Look, pin setter, ER. Normally that means it's a job, like singer or teacher. Operator, that's a job. Projectionist, that's a job. Knocker-upper, that's a job. Collector, that's a job. Cashier and factory worker. So we have a long list of jobs in this particular section. Well, the problem is this. As you remember, it says read carefully. Now let's look at the task one more time. It says, two of the jobs that will not be needed in the future, in the near future. So we need jobs that exist now, but in the future will not be needed. So let's have a look at the text again. Now here it says, the following jobs are just a few examples that have disappeared entirely. Now this is really important. Have disappeared is present perfect, which means the result of this disappearance is still true, which means these jobs don't exist now. These jobs don't exist in the present. Therefore, this list of jobs, bowling pin setter, lift operator, film projectionist, and knocker-upper, these four jobs don't exist in the present. So we cannot take these and put them in the sentence because that would be incorrect. Now let's look at the next part of the text. Some jobs have not been lost completely yet. Now here we are. This is present perfect and it says have not been lost, which means they still exist. And then it says, but their days are numbered, which means they will disappear in the future. So among these jobs are toll collector, that's one job, cashier, that's another job, and factory worker. So we have three jobs. So let's take two of these jobs, we only need two, and complete the sentence. So let's go back to the sentence. Okay, and let's take the information from the text and complete the sentence. So for example, in the first part, let's say toll collector, and in the second part, factory worker. Okay, now before we continue to the second part, let's check that it makes sense. So two of the jobs that will not be needed in the near future are toll collector and factory worker. That sounds fine, no problem. Okay, so we finished the first one, let's continue with the second one. Number 2, according to McKinsey Global Institute, there may be enough jobs for everyone despite automation, but the real challenge will be the gap. Now, first of all, In this case, we need a noun or a noun phrase because we have the article the. Now let's look if there's any vocabulary that can be interesting. Enough is a very interesting word, so let's think of some synonyms. A synonym of enough can be sufficient. Sufficient can be a synonym of enough. Okay, let's continue. Despite. Despite is a very important word. Can you think of any words which have a similar function? Well, I do. Despite, similar words, although, though, even though, or nevertheless. Now please remember, they work in different ways, but the meaning is very similar. They are used in similar contexts. Okay, let's continue. Finally, the real challenge. Now can you think of any synonym for challenge? Good synonyms can be battle, test, or difficult task. Now, I'm not saying that you need to write down synonyms, but in your head, you should always think, okay, I have these words, is there any synonym that I can think of? Because this can help you find the information in the text. Now, let's focus on some keywords. McKinsey Global Institute. That's a proper name, so it should be very easy to find in the text. Now, we're talking about jobs, we're talking about automation, and also we have the word challenge. So let's have a look at the text and see what we can find. Now, as you know, we did this part, so the answer to this question will be in the next paragraph or later. Let's look at the next paragraph. Can you see McKinsey anywhere? Yes, it says here, McKinsey Global Institute. Very good. Can you see the word challenge anywhere? Challenging. That is an adjective, so it must be related to the part that we need. Okay, let's have a look. The key finding of this report is that although much of the work will be automated in the future, although, and then we have automated. As you can see, it's related to what we need to find. There may be enough work to maintain full employment under most scenarios. However, the transition process will be very challenging. So this is the information that we need. The important one is the transition process. So let's see if this fits in the sentence that we have. So let's go back. So according to McKinsey Global Institute, there may be enough jobs for everyone despite automation. But the real challenge, now here we have the subject, will be, there's the verb to be in the future, and then the transition process. So what's the difference? In this part of the text, the subject is the real challenge. Then we have the verb to be, and then the object is the transition process. Let's check if it's similar to the text. Now in the text, it says, however, the transition process, subject, will be very challenging. Well, the meaning is basically the same. In this case, the challenge is the subject. In the other case, the challenging was the adjective, but the meaning is very similar. Okay, so let's get rid of the synonyms to reduce clutter, which is another word you should know if you want to do the proficiency exam. Now let's continue. Two of the factors that will affect the speed and scope of automation in work life are gap and gap. So again, we have two pieces of information that we're looking for. Most probably they are nouns because it says two of the factors. So we're looking for nouns or noun phrases. Now here we have a lot of words which are very interesting. For example, factor. Can you think of any synonyms? A synonym of factor can be a component or an element. Now we have the verb affect. Can you think of any synonyms of affect? When I say affect, I can think of influence, change, or impact that can be synonyms of affect. Okay, anything else? We have speed, which is an important word, scope, which is like range or extent, and then again, we have automation. Now specifically, we're looking at automation in work life. Okay, so let's have a look at the text. We've taken information from this paragraph, let's continue. What impact will automation have on work? Now here there's a very important word, which is impact. Now before, we saw in the task, we had the word affect, and affect is a synonym of impact. So most probably we are in the right place, because here we're talking about automation and we're talking about work. Okay, so the most important thing to find is two factors. Now, can you see the word factor in these two paragraphs? Exactly. In the last paragraph, we have the word factor. And the first sentence says, technical feasibility of automation is an important factor that will influence the pace and scope of automation adoption. But it is not the only determinant. Now, this is a synonym I didn't think about, but pace can be a synonym of speed. Okay, we have the word scope, which we also have in the task, so we understand that technical feasibility of automation is one of the things we are looking for, is one of the factors. Now let's continue. Do we see other factors? Other factors include the financial cost of automation and social acceptance of it. Now in this case, please remember it means automation. So in this paragraph we have 3 factors. You can choose any 2 factors and put them in the task. So let's go back to the task. Here is sentence 3. I'm going to take 2 factors and see if they fit. So the first factor is going to be the technical feasibility of automation. Now you will notice I added the article the, because in my opinion it sounds better with the article the. Now I'm going to put the second one, and it's going to be the financial cost of automation. Now this is the second one. Now obviously this is correct. If you want, you can change automation into it if you want to do referencing, or if you prefer, this is quite nice, its financial cost, when its refers to automation. So please remember, don't forget your paraphrasing skills. In this case, it's not incorrect to continue using automation, but it's nice if you paraphrase it. Okay, let's have a look at the 4th sentence. Some occupations, like gardeners, plumbers, or babysitters, will not be affected very much by automation because these occupations, something, and something. Okay, we're still talking about effects of automation, so most probably we will be in the same subtitle. And we have different jobs, different occupations. You see, I immediately said jobs because I'm always thinking about synonyms when I look at these tasks. Now, another very important word is because. Can you think of any synonyms of because? Well, I think some very important synonyms of because are as or since, and if the sentence is paraphrased, you can also use so. Now let's go back to the text. Let's look for jobs which are not affected very much by automation, and the reasons why these jobs are not affected. So we finished the first page, we found the information in this paragraph, let's continue. Now let's look. Taking these factors into account, 30% of the hours, we can't see any jobs in this paragraph. No, so let's continue. So let's see, is the information in this paragraph the potential impact of automation on employment varies by occupation, activities most susceptible, not most susceptible, we need to find the ones which are not influenced by automation. Okay, what about the next paragraph? Automation will have a lesser effect, haha, here is the part, on jobs that involve managing people, applying expertise. Okay, so where are the jobs that we saw? Here we are, gardeners, plumbers, or providers of childcare and elder care, which means babysitters or caretakers. So we have found the relevant part. Now let's see. They will generally see less automation by 2030 as, which is a synonym of because, they are difficult to automate and they require lower wages on the part of the employer. So look what I did. We didn't find the relevant information in this paragraph and we skipped. We skipped this paragraph, we found the paragraph thanks to the key words gardeners, plumbers and providers of childcare, and then we found more of the relevant part. As is a synonym of because, and then we have the reasons. They are difficult to automate and they require lower wages on the part of the employer. So we can take this information and we can put it in our task. So here we are on number 4. They are difficult to automate and they require lower wages. Very good. Let's continue with the 5th. As people get older, they tend to spend more on gap. This will create a significant new demand for a variety of jobs in the future since the number of older people will increase. Can you think of any synonyms of older? I would say elderly or aging. So the concept of this sentence is that elderly people tend to spend more on something. Okay, let's check what they spend more on. So let's go down to the text. And what are possible scenarios for employment growth? Is there anything about older people in this paragraph? No. Rising incomes and consumption, this could be relevant, but I can't see anything about older people. Look, aging populations. Here is the relevant part. Now, by 2030, there will be at least 300 million more people. Okay, let's see what they spend on. As people age, their spending on personal services, such as healthcare, increases. Now look, increases. Here we have the important word. Now, the relevant part will be personal services. So we take this part and we go back to our sentence. As people get older, they tend to spend more on personal services. Very well. Does it fit the sentence? Yes, we don't need to paraphrase. Let's continue. Number 6. Some factors, however, might require some extra investment. Provided that something increase, there will be a need for 80 million jobs like architects, engineers, electricians, carpenters, and so on. So here we have some keywords. 80 million jobs, that's going to be very important. It's easy to find numbers within a text, so we can use that clue. Increase, very important. Can you think of any synonyms of increase? It makes me think of rise or growth. In general, growth obviously is the noun form, rise is the verb or noun form. Now, something interesting is provided that. Now, this can be a little bit difficult, but because you're a student who will do the proficiency exam, you need to know the meaning of provided that. So, do you know what provided that means in this particular situation? Now, if you don't worry, I'll tell you. Provided that means on the condition that. It's a very interesting expression. Now, what I like to say, instead of thinking about complicated things, try to think of something simple. Basically, provided that, in this case, means if. So let's remember this. So let's have a look at the text. We have some keywords, 80 million jobs. We know that we're looking for a condition because we're looking for if, and then we're looking for factors, and we're also looking for investment. This is another key word. And we also have architects, engineers, electricians. So we have a lot of keywords to find the information efficiently. Okay, let's have a look at the text. Now, we've done the part of aging populations, so we can continue. Development of technology. Well, can you see 80 million jobs? No, I can see 50 million jobs, but that means that this is not the relevant part. Let's continue. Other factors. Okay, factor was a key word. Haha, 80 million jobs. So we find the information here. Architects, engineers, electricians and carpenters. So this is definitely the relevant part of the text. Now, let's have a look at the beginning. The first one is possible investments in infrastructure and construction. New demands could be created for up to 80 million jobs if, we have a condition. Investments in infrastructure and construction rise. So this is the condition that we were looking for. Remember, in the task, it says provided that. So we're looking for a condition. And here is the condition. So we can take this condition and complete the task. So let's go back to the task. And provided that, here we can put the information. So let's try. Provided that investments in infrastructure and construction rise, increase. Do we have a problem? Well, yes. The problem is we have two verbs. And as you know, rise and increase are synonyms. So we don't need rise. So we can remove rise and now it's okay. Okay, let's continue to the next one. The main duty of simplicity experts will be to. So what are we looking for? We're looking for a verb. Most probably we're looking for a verb and other things after the verb, maybe an object. But still, we need to look for a verb. Now the main duty, main, a synonym of main can be principal, primary, fundamental. Duty, well, this is very important, maybe a task, maybe a job, maybe a responsibility. And the key word is simplicity experts. Okay, let's scan the text for simplicity experts. So we can go down. Now, some of the future jobs, nostalgists, telesurgeons, garbage designers. I can't see it here. Let's continue. Simplicity experts. So finally, we've reached the last page of the text. So we're starting to relax. Now, simplicity experts. These experts will primarily help businesses simplify the daily operations. Now look, we have the word primarily, which can be considered a synonym of mainly. Okay, now which verb can we use? Well, we have help. Help businesses. Okay, is that enough? Well, help businesses is very limited. We're not providing a lot of information. So we can say, help businesses simplify the daily operations. Okay, so let's take this piece of information and put it in the task. Okay, so let's go back to the task. And here we are. The main duty of simplicity experts will be to help businesses simplify the daily operations. Does that fit? Well, yes, we have will be, to, we need a verb 1, we need a base form, help is a base form, that is fine. Very good, let's continue. During their education, gamification designers will study gap and gap. So we need to find two things that these gamification designers will study. Now again, gamification designers is a job like simplicity experts, so most probably we were in the right part. Now let's have a look at what they study. Can you think of any synonym of study? Maybe education, but we have education here. Maybe qualification, maybe certification. Let's have a look. So let's go down. Now, gamification designers, here's the relevant section. Now let's have a look what they will study. Now, can we see anything which is related to school? Combined, this is their job. Products to make a world a more playfully challenging place. This is not about education. Work, this is about work. Let's continue. Will become certified. Here it is. So gamification designers will become certified in their fields and will have an educational background. Here is the part of education. In human motivation and play behavior. So here are the two elements that we need for our task. So we can take this and put it in our task. So let's go back. So first, they will study human motivation and play behavior. Now, do they fit in the sentence? Yes, they are two noun phrases, and it works, and we know that it's correct. And we've almost reached the end. Now let's have a look. Now, number 9, if a robot owner experiences problems with his or her robot, a robot counselor will offer help to find better options and gap for the robot owners. So, we're looking for something that the robot counselor will do in case the robot owner experiences problems. Okay, now can you think of a synonym of offer? I would say provide. Can you think of a synonym of problems? I would say issues. So we need to find what the robot counselor does in case there are problems. Now let's go down to the text. This is the part that we did before, the gamification designers. As you can see, robot counselors is here. Now, can you see the word problem? Let's have a look. Problem. Issue. No. This time we are unlucky. I can't see the word problem. I can't see the word issue. Well, let's choose another keyword. For example, option. Here is the word option. So let's have a look. Is this the relevant part? If a robot does not fit in well with the family, well, this is an expression to mean there are some problems with the robot. So we can say that this part is relevant. So, in this situation, the counselor will be available to help the robot owners, let's have a look, to determine better options, that is what we already have in the task, and provide customer services. This is the relevant part. So let's take this and put it in our task. So let's go back, find our task, and in this part, we can write provide customer services. Now let's have a look if it fits. A robot counselor will offer help to find better options and provide customer services for the robot owners. That fits. If you want, you can also remove provide because provide is a synonym of offer. And that's it. So there you are. Now this was done very slowly and all together, but I hope that I explained to you all of the different steps that you should take to do the search reading task. Now, you will find a complete list of the answers online, so if you have any questions, please check online and you will find all of the possible answers for this search reading. And as you can see, it's not a very difficult task. And that's it. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you feel more prepared for the search reading task. So good luck, and remember, don't panic. See you.